Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another episode in Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. I'm here with Representative Cruz and Senator Miranda. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm going to pour us a little bit of wine. This is kind of traditional. It's a little early in the day, but kind of an extension of the Thanksgiving weekend. So this is a wine that we've grown our grapes and we've produced down in Wilcox.
Nice.
And it is a Zinfandel Primitiva blend with a little bit of Syrah in it, and hope you enjoy it. Today is kind of one of the beginning of one of our policymaker series, we call it. Now, just so everyone in the audience knows, I am not super politically astute on a local or state or federal level. So I'm not overly opinionated about anything. So you guys will be my first guests, and I guess I'll ask questions like any normal citizen would ask that's somewhat ignorant about the entire process. So I'm going to start with you, Representative Cruz. The whole process, you're kind of new. You've been in a lot of different things in your life that included appraisals, and then you've had a variety of different jobs that have gotten you kind of prepped or ready for this. But now you're in the
legislature.
The legislature.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what that experience is, and you know, we all, I guess when we're looking at things from the outside looking in, we all have all the answers, right? But
until you get inside.
Until you get inside. So far, what's your impression of it all?
Well, I was appointed back in June, replacing Senator Bravo, who replaced Senator Tehran. And it definitely is a little different. I, too, was ignorant of the inner workings of things.
Sure.
And just an active citizen, supporting my neighbors. I like to call myself a neighborhood auntie. I always look out for the kids and the families, the elderly in my community. And it was an honor, really, when I looked at the opportunity and I sat and prayed with it. I'm a woman of faith. I'm an ordained minister as well. And I said, you know what? I think I can do this. I think I can serve in this way. And I felt a peace about it. And so I'm thankful I had that peace in the beginning because I've needed it. It's been a very interesting journey. Nothing can honestly prepare you for the way the government works. I tell my kids all the time, we have that, this is a bill, right? When we're growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, we learn
Sesame
that.
Street.
Yeah, we learn that, right? You learn that growing up. And I think before this, I did have the opportunity to see the legislative process when I was at the assessor's office. We were advocating for fair wages for appraisal staff at our county assessor offices. And we ran a bill twice. It didn't make it, it made it through committee, but died on the floor. And I think that was the extent of my experience. Oh, we had this bill, I was so excited, and then it died on the floor. And so I had that experience as well, but nothing could really prepare me for the inner workings. And so I'm enjoying my time, and I am getting more intimately aware and of the inner workings of the government and finding my place in it all.
Okay, and Senator Miranda, now you've been at it for a little while longer, so you're the voice of reason and experience. What's the process like for you at this point in your career?
Okay, well, thank you, Mike. First of all, thank you for having us
Yeah,
on
thank you
your
so
show
much.
this
Thank you for
morning.
being here.
Really appreciate it. Wow, that's a loaded question. I served 4 years in the House and 4 years in the Senate, and I took 4.5 years off, which I think was the most powerful thing to do.
Yeah, that sounds like the best 4 years.
Exactly, because you need to reset and reground yourself after you're in there for a few years, and I think Representative Cruz is feeling that right now.
Is it kind of like being a prize fighter? You're like in the game fighting for and then you just need to take a little bit of a rest?
You know, in the beginning, you walk in with hopefully no baggage, and I believe everybody walks in feeling like, okay, I'm going to change the world because you have good intentions. But then you quickly realize that there's so many different opinions and there's so many different sides and fights that you have to address. So after a few years of that was the magic moment for me to step out and, like I said, regroup and reground myself. I decided to come back after I saw the enormous amount of homelessness that quadrupled since the time I was in there.
Right.
And that truly is the reason why I came back, is to serve our homeless. And there's so many reasons why people are homeless, and those issues are filtering through the House and the Senate, every issue. And issue upon issue can create homelessness, is what I've learned last session.
Yeah, and it's the concept of bipartisanship. Is that a dead thing in this country? Is that we just all have to pick a side?
You know,
listen to our filter, whether
There's no
Yeah.
party when it comes to human suffering. Like,
Right.
people are suffering, and we have to come together and find solutions. We don't have the luxury of not working together.
right. Well, I agree with that. So you're both kind of advocates for education. Now you're District 26 and you're
Yes.
27.
I'm 11.
Oh, you're 11
It
now.
used to be 27.
Okay, wow. So
Okay.
where is 11? Where's 27? And where's 26?
Well, 27, I'm not sure where that is now. It used to be in
Oh, it's
Southeast.
been-
It's been
Redistricting.
redistricted, yes. And it now covers all of Guadalupe, the town of Guadalupe, all of South Phoenix and Laveen, and parts of downtown Phoenix.
That's what 11 is.
That's 11.
Wow. Okay. So you're in a that's probably a lower income area. Like everything in Phoenix changes and gets
Yes.
gentrified. It's
And
hard to
just like you said,
keep
it's
track.
changing. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of middle class, and there still is low socioeconomic community
Okay.
there as well.
And then 26. I think you said Maryvale area.
It includes Maryvale. So LD 26 starts at 19th Avenue on the east, and then goes over to 55th Avenue in some parts to the west. And then our northern boundary is Peoria Avenue, and our southern boundary is Van Buren. And so
Wow. Okay.
we like to call it Central, West Phoenix, and Glendale, because we have Phoenix and we have Glendale, a little bit of Glendale too. So.
Yeah, yeah. Now, again, strictly from ignorance, you're working with different mayors then, and I mean, you've got more than one city that is in your district, and I think yours is all Phoenix, or is it?
Well, in
Go into
Guadalupe, we
Tempe,
have a
too.
mayor, and then of
Oh, Guadalupe is its own thing.
course, right.
Okay. So, do you work with local mayors and people in, because that's a whole different political format, right? But to get anything done, you probably
have to,
need to
yeah,
have their
work
support
together.
as well. Okay. So, I know both of you kind of run on a platform of education. So, walk me through, I guess, how. Just because you're an advocate for something doesn't mean that there's a bill to even vote on or
Right.
to work with, right?
Right.
So, how do you go through an effort of trying to create a new bill, or do you just put your vote in and your influence as it comes along? How does that work?
Well, you mentioned education, and that is my reason why I'm in the legislature is education, being a former teacher, school administrator, and school board member. And it was actually my school board member years that prepared me for the legislature. Because believe it or not, the school board is a little legislature by itself.
Yeah, it's its own
Politics
thing, too.
goes right through
Wow.
through those 5 members or however many members you have. And the more I was disappointed about the funding for schools, or me as a teacher having to buy so many resources and supplies for my students because there was no funding. Those complaints coming home to my late husband, Ben Miranda, he was a former state legislator, a representative back in the day. He just kept hearing my complaints, and so in his mind, he was preparing me to throw me in the lion's den, is what I call it, the legislature. So long story short, my concerns and my passion, he felt was the perfect message and reason why he should mentor me to go into the legislature. And we did, and we won, and I was scared to death. And all I could think of was that Sesame Street song, How Do We Create a Bill? Because I did not grow up in politics. I was a tomboy. I was just my footprints all over South Phoenix.
Well, that's probably the best perspective to have as a politician, is that you're coming
in with no baggage.
Yeah,
just with
as a regular person. Yeah.
Right. The regular person with passion for education and just doing the right thing.
Right.
So.
And so, how about your platform when it comes to education? Have you even seen a bill coming across yet, or anything like that?
I have seen some things. I've drafted some bills as well. My experience with education and why I'm so passionate about it, and I hate to go back to where I'm from, but you always do, right? I'm from a small town in Inkster. It's called Inkster, Michigan, and it no longer has a school district. I went to that school district as a child, but there were so many things that played that we see here in Arizona when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to rising home costs, when it comes to gas and lack of adequate employment opportunities. And so eventually my city went through a downward spiral, and we lost our school district. So I'm very passionate about education just because I know how I was able to be set up. I was set up for success. I was poured into from a community that loved me and that supported me and wanted to make sure I was successful. And I want that for all of Arizona's students as well. Yeah. I know how we think that we have these school districts and they've been around forever, but there is a such thing as a school district losing enough support to maintain itself. And that's really my biggest concern. Schools are losing money in so many ways. I can't even number them all. There's so many ways that a school gives to a community and doesn't receive anything back. They have to work off that limited budget that they receive from the state and maybe some resources that they get from the community. But they give so much more than they take. And so I also have 2 sons with special needs. And I am a very big advocate when it comes to adequate resources to support them as well. I have my experiences as a mom and fighting for my kids. I'm a big advocate, like I said, neighborhood auntie, right? And so I'm fighting for adequate resources for all the children because, they're not a generation of the future or anything else. Like these children are going to turn 18 in a few years. They're going to turn 18 tomorrow. They're going to age out of the foster care system tomorrow. Right. And so we need to make sure that they're properly supported. Yeah. And everything that I'm doing, the bills that you'll see come forth from me and my colleagues who support them will be to, push for support because, like I said, we don't have the luxury of not doing anything.
I grew up in Buffalo, which is the Steel Belt. The Rust Belt.
Oh, yeah.
Same neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And if you, especially at the time, I'm older than you, but at the time, the 70s were like to me, a horrible decade, right? Everything that happened in the 70s, from Watergate to Vietnam to,
so much going on.
All the social unrest, but to see industry completely leave, the city and just see these, things decay probably is something that'll always stick with me. One of the reasons I got out and came to Phoenix was there's more optimism here. But then if you grow up in a hard neighborhood in Phoenix, just because it's sunny every day doesn't mean
That's right.
it's sunny for you every day, right? So I kind of understand, where you're coming from when, the school board closed and everything else. When I was in college, I graduated, I was in the engineering school, and at the end of my 4 years there, I went to the library. Back then we didn't have computers and internet to look stuff up, but I wanted to see about, where is the growth in the country. And in Buffalo at the time, there wasn't one building permit pulled in 4 years that I was there. So I was like, I'm in the wrong place. Then I looked, and Phoenix had probably the most consistent growth from World War II to up until that point. So I got on a bus, and here I am.
That was
so,
smart.
That
was so
I don't
smart.
know. It's desperate. I
Thinking
guess.
ahead.
We do desperate things, right? But
No, that's beautiful.
so I've got a question on expenses, right? So, and I hear it from all sides. I hear, well, don't give the homeless people money because, you're encouraging them. At the same time, I'm looking at it saying, they need a little encouragement. But what's if churches aren't stepping in and families don't step in and the government doesn't step in, who's there to help the homeless? So we'll go back to the homeless. But my question this time is on education. And sometimes it always comes down to this common denominator: we need more money. But I'm gonna ask a question. Levine, is that in your?
Yes.
It is. So I go to Levine, and those schools are gorgeous. I mean, the infrastructure for the architecture, the buildings are amazing. Was all the money spent on the buildings and none on, like, what matters, like books, computers, teachers, crayons? I mean, so I that's my question is where is the money lacking? Because in Arizona, it seems to me, compared to where I grew up and the school I went to, these places are country clubs. So where is the disconnect when it comes to the budget?
Well, perception is everything, and money comes in waves. So maybe back then there was a little bit of money to have capital funds for buildings. In the legislature, it's definitely in waves, and it's who is ever elected in that position. Like right now, we need to change the dynamics of the legislature because the majority of our legislature is anti-public education. There is no money coming to education. So it depends on what year you're talking about and who's elected.
I see.
And the root cause of this money and this anti-public education is the dynamics of who's in the legislature, because those are the decision makers. So we're counting as Democrats for 2024 to be the majority and to reset everything.
Right.
And
So
I wanted to piggyback on that really quick. And the thing to remember with some of these newer areas like Levine, Santan, Surprise, is that they have the benefit of coming after these older districts like Roosevelt. Like they had, with new growth, we've seen like the homes increase. We've seen the development in Levine. There was a time when I lived down there, there were a couple of subdivisions and dairy farms. And I remember one grocery store. I lived with my aunt, and I was like, I came out here to go to Grand Canyon, and I stayed with my aunt for a little bit, and I was like, this drive is ridiculous. And so I stayed in Levine with her for a little bit. But then I would go back and visit her, and there was so much new growth. And so with every new subdivision, every new home, that's a new taxpayer paying into it as well.
Okay.
And so they benefited in the beginning with that growth. So if the school district has, 4 new subdivisions in its area and its boundaries, it needs to build a school, and it has new taxpayers. So now it has more income to buy to pay for a building for that particular area because they have this new revenue, but the revenue is from that community for them. So what we see is, like I said, the benefit of that growth, but that doesn't mean it's sustainable. When they first come in, yeah, but all the neighbors may not send their kids there, or there might be a lot of parents who see us a new school and come outside the district and bring their kids. And so the resources going out from that school isn't just for their little neighborhood that paid for the building. They're taking in kids from everywhere, and we're a school choice state, and so people tend to want to take their kids where it's new. I'll just say that, and so that's another way where school districts give more than they take in. I just wanted to explain that part. They benefit from the
that's
growth.
So true.
Yeah,
And revenue is always good, but in a little village like Levine, as you see the new buildings and the new growth, sometimes the root people of Levine may not be happy. There's history there, and our ranchers there are now being built upon. So there's always some kind of balance that we have to advocate for.
Well, in business, if we look at from a business standpoint, Arizona's been attracting a lot of tech, right? And what I hear, and it's the same thing in my industry, where I'm a contractor, landscape contractor, and I've talked to a lot of general contractors and developers, and there's not enough people to fill these jobs, right? So the concept of the education is to basically to fill those jobs or
That's
to get
right.
these kids prepped
Right.
to go to school. This is why we have our STEM initiative, which is, I call it a STEM lab, but it's a STEM garden. And do you see that as being something that could improve the process, the teaching process?
Oh my goodness!
Absolutely.
I think that is the answer. That is what we need. We're in a world of technology, right? The science, the technology, the engineering, mathematics, the STEM concept needs to be advocated more. I remember back a few years when I was in the legislature, former Senator Worsley, Bob Worsley, and I created a business education caucus, and it was focused on STEM. That wasn't our initial idea, but it turned into STEM because those conversations couldn't be denied. And when you saw educators and business people coming together, when they didn't collaborate with each other in the past, it was amazing for us to just sit back and watch educators and business people communicating, because you saw the aha moments. The business people left at the end of that session realizing that, you know what, the students sitting in your classroom are my future employees.
Right.
It's just that little realization.
So isn't that make it an easy play to say
right.
we need this investment
Yeah.
because we're not filling jobs.
Right.
But we
If
could
we
be
can't
filling
filling jobs, we can't attract industry, and we can't move ahead in Arizona. And Arizona does not rank super high nationally, which I think is one of the reasons why some corporations actually decide not to come here. So, how does that discussion, is that part of the discussion when you're trying to get more budget money? It's like, you know what, we're not putting out a good product here. We're not getting enough students ready for the real world.
It is. And I'm embarrassed to say it's the infighting in the legislature, the infighting that just doesn't get us to the next stepping stone.
Seems like an epidemic
It
throughout
is.
the country, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. And I'm going to do my best to keep educating as much as I can. I just came back from Taiwan a couple of weeks ago. We are investing a $40 billion technology semiconductor manufacturing company here in Arizona from Taiwan.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't get our attention, that we need more engineers in our colleges, but starting with gardens, believe it or not, starting with gardens where the children can learn the STEM process.
But just the scientific
the
process.
science of
There's
it.
such a thing anymore.
Right. The critical thinking.
Right,
It's
right.
the foundation to be that good engineer one day, to work for a big company like that.
Yeah. It's
Right
well,
here
it's,
at our home.
you know, I went to school. When I went to school, it always bothered me that there always seems to be pushing abstract thought. You know, doing mathematics and calculus, and and trying to figure out how that actually fits into the real world. And the idea of the hands-on learning in the lab is really where we're teaching concrete. We're connecting the concrete with the abstract, and I think that's really what we're trying to achieve with these gardens. Yeah. So
I love that.
that's the So the educational component is a never-ending battle that you've got to work on. You're also involved with, or one of your passions is talking about water, which with both the companies that I have, water is a real thing. I mean, drought is a real deal in the Southwest. Agriculture, there's the two biggest polluters worldwide is mining and then agriculture. Agriculture is responsible for a lot of the global warming through its processes, and a lot of the desertification of good soils because of the processes we have right now. What aspect, or how do you get involved with water? Because it's something that you're aware of, and now you're new in the legislature. It's the same thing. Do you wait for a bill to come, or where is that? I know there's a lot of laws in Arizona. We are forced to think about water. And Michigan, you're not forced to think about it. It rains every day and you got a lake. But here,
and it snows. That's true. But I came out here to go to Grand Canyon in 2005, and so I've spent my entire adult life in Arizona. I made Arizona my home, and I didn't really think too much about water. I'll be honest, because I had the luxury of being from the Great Lakes, and it typically is not an issue. But it also helped me be more aware also when I would drive to Vegas and I would see that Hoover Dam is looking real interesting as I could drive up. And being a real estate appraiser for the assessor's office, I was able to connect with other assessor office staff. And I got hip to the drought and what that really meant at one of my inspections. I can't even remember. I think I was at I was at like a nursery because I did commercial properties. So I was at a nursery and they were talking about the drought and stuff. And I was our professional association's president at the time. And I came back to my executive board and I said, we need to do our entire professional development series on water. And they said, water, why? I said, no, we need to. I heard something today and I want to know more about it. And so we did. We did a whole series on water in 2018. We spoke to CAP. I didn't know who any of these people were at the time, but I learned who they were because I'm raising my children here and this is my home and I need to know what's going on. And I didn't hear anything from authorities about the drought at all. Right. I kind of heard that, hearsay almost. So we weren't really as focused on it as we are now back when I really looked into it. That may have been 2016. And so anyway, one of our speakers was the Mojave County assessor. And she is amazing. And she had this map. I'll never forget it. It showed the wells in Mojave County in 2010. And then she had the wells in 2016 or 2017. And she said that this gentleman had bought this land and he wanted to build a subdivision, but he couldn't prove 100 years water. So he couldn't do it. Then he ended up selling the water to fruit farmers. Right, and then no one's monitoring the water that they're using, or if they have 100 years
more than,
or 2 years,
than a residential.
Yeah, or 2 years. And she talked to us about this, and she said this is an issue that someone needs to do something about it. I will never forget that. She's such a strong woman. She's like, someone needs to do something about this. And as soon as I hit the legislature, the first thing I did was say, hey, remember when you came and talked to us at this meeting? Exactly how does this work? And I saw this, statute, and what does this mean? And I talked to her because I wanted to know what I could do. And so, in that, I don't wait for anyone to do anything. If someone brings a bill, that's great. But I already will be introducing one so that we can see what's going on. We have a preemption on monitoring the wells, monitoring what people are doing. And so one of the bills that I'm introducing is, again, someone did it last year, I think, and the year before that. I picked it up and I said, we need to know what people are using. That whole alfalfa situation, we should know what's going on. How do we not know what they're taking from the reservoir? How do we not know?
Right.
And so for me, I think that's the first step, is knowing what our situation is. What are our water levels, and what situation, how bad is it? And then we can come up with a plan. And so
Sure.
that's one of the bills I'll be introducing.
So
I know
you
that was
guys-
kind of long, sorry.
No, no,
You
that's
both
good information.
represent an area, but really you're representing the state of Arizona.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, ultimately, as a group in the legislature or the House, you're representing the state. So the state water use is kind of an important thing. And, in these last couple of years, there's been some big turning points that people don't, talk much about. I think it was last year, I can't remember the day, we hit 8 billion people on the planet. That's a lot of people. Considering when I was born, it was 3.5 billion. In one person's lifetime to see that. And as humans, we definitely use resources, and we create a lot of different products, and a lot of things aren't regulated, and so we end up making a mess in our own backyard type of thing. So when it comes to the water, and the water, it's I think an eventual thing before we have to have some solutions. And I don't know much about it, but I've heard that there's desalination projects that the state of Arizona is getting involved with or
Invested
paying
in.
for. Obviously, the governor's just created a I don't know if you call it a.
Seems like a task force or something.
No, she put a moratorium, I think, on use of water, and unless you can prove things.
That's right.
So,
I think I
so
heard
that's been a big thing. The other thing that was kind of important, it was a couple of years ago maybe, was I think farmers years and years ago in Arizona had a lot of power and got us our water with the CAP, and fought pretty. We had favorable conditions here in Arizona. They considering California's right next door and they're bigger and badder than us, so we got a pretty good allotment. But there was a trigger that changed things, and that had to do with the level of Lake Mead, and we finally triggered it. So I think it was a year ago, 2 years ago, where we actually, our water level dropped, and because of that, we lost some of our allotment. So these are the end product of some of these policies. They're real, and the people that don't know, the average person doesn't talk about it much. Okay, so we covered a little bit of education. We've now covered a little bit of water, but on the water front, what would the approach be at this point, besides just investigating or having a watchdog group?
I think that having someone, and I get watchdog, it's more of just like awareness, right? But we also start, with programs like the lab and things like that with teaching our young people. We're going to be here. We'll have water, probably for our lifetimes, right? But the young people are the ones who are going to end up suffering from our overuse and not taking care of business as the adults in the room. And so what I love is what my boys are learning at school, which is the water conservation efforts. They don't run the water while they're brushing their teeth. And that didn't come from me. That came from school. They learned about water, how finite of a resource it is, and how important it is not to waste water. And even in our home, we do our own thing. When I went to Germany to school for a little bit, I had to take what I call a German shower. And I remember thinking, this is insane. And she would say, Quante, turn the water off. And my roommate, and it took me a while to get used to how they
ration it.
Listen, how they ration it out. Oh yeah, and that first bill, man, she handed it over to me because I was American and privileged, and I learned what American privilege really was really quick.
Right.
But I remembered that experience, and when I saw that drop of Lake Mead when I was driving to Vegas. that's what I've been doing, is educating people, because they are rationing water. But why do we need to wait until we have to do these things to start making more conscious decisions on our water use personally?
Right.
I think when the everyday person takes this water situation seriously, the drought seriously, we can do what we can as individuals, as families. We can spread the word on things that we can do to cut back. And the business community has a responsibility as well. I think that we all owe our future Arizonans, we all owe it to them to do the right thing today. We don't have the luxury of waiting. And I keep saying that, but it's true. We don't. We don't have the luxury.
No, we've hit it. We've hit that point.
Yeah, it's over. And so I think by, having programs where kids learn about STEM, they learn about water, how important it is. It's one thing for people to say, oh, this is how a tree grows, or how flowers grow, or how a tomato grows. But seeing that process that you were talking about, seeing the whole concept, how it works. We watered it and we got some sun, and you walk it through the whole process. That helps, not just young people. It helps us see how important it is. We've been so distanced away from life itself, from what it takes to grow fruit or vegetables, what it takes to raise animals. We're so disconnected from that. Right. We just go to the store and buy it.
Less than 1% of the population is involved with agriculture, versus our grandparents. Everyone had a garden, and everyone was in smaller farms and that sort of thing. So that's a big thing. You mentioned in a recent media post something about people that we have to have. Everyone should be able to get a trade.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the
believe
concept.
in that. Yes.
And so, how is that done? I'm a big supporter of community colleges. I don't think they get enough publicity, or maybe the way our education works. It's people have to go to college to a 4-year degree, and I think a lot of people just aren't built for that. Honestly, when I was younger, I just wanted to get a trade, and that was it. And my family kind of forced me or pressured me, I think, into going to college, and then I went to grad school or whatever. I'm not sure if any of it sunk in, but the idea of get a trade. So how do you do that? When do you start the concept of at the primary levels, grade school level, or high school, or or do you wait? You go through the system, and then hey, now you got to learn how to become an apprentice with some company. What's the
honestly, my take on that is it starts with knowing your children, whoever is responsible for raising the little people. So I have an autistic son. He is not so much a people person. He doesn't want to be bothered with people for the most part. But he loves the alphabet, colors, all the things. He's been, telling us the color of the day, the alphabet of the day, the shape of the day, literally since he was like 2 or 3 years old. He's 12. Jeremiah, his gift is teaching people about colors and stuff like this. That's his gift. He could do that every day. If he's 12 and he's still doing Five Little Monkeys and telling people about today's the color blue, if he's doing that at 12, right, that might be something I want to investigate, right? And so what do? I have him volunteer at church teaching the young people. And I say, Jeremiah, you're going to, go to school and be an early education teacher, right? And so before you leave my house, you will have a certificate in hand to be able to have some kind of trade, something that complements your gifts, that helps you. So for me, I love math, and that's why I'm an appraiser. I got a degree, kind of forced like you, in history that did not pay off. And I honestly wasn't interested in being a school teacher or anything like that. My grandfather would say, you should be a teacher. I don't want to do that. And I did it. But I found something that worked with my gifts. I can play with math all day. I love math. I enjoy it. It's easy for me. When I was a kid, I didn't like it as much, but it was easy. And I said, I'm going to find something that works with math. So I think that we should look at the children as they grow up and let them explore gifts. My other 2 boys have explored different things. Like I have one who loves art, and he loves that. And then he loved journalism, so he's exploring that now. And I let my children explore all these gifts. I think that gift and trade go hand in hand, and everyone should have something they can fall back on. I just really believe it, and that makes them happy and allows them to be self-sufficient.
So Senator Miranda, you've been in the system for a while, and you see the education. How do you get involved with actual school board or the state of Arizona, the curriculum standards and that kind of thing? Is there, from public schools, it seems to me like when I was younger, they had things like home ec and masonry and all these things that are
Me
gone
too,
now,
so we're
right?
Yeah.
kind of
So
same age.
those were literally trades. Do we need to get back to that?
We do. We do. We need to bring those things back.
Is that something that's missing when it comes to the budget, or is it just policy or
There's a lot
willpower?
missing when it comes to the budget. But as you can see, excuse me, I guess I need a little bit of this.
Absolutely, take a drink. I've been wearing
No,
you guys down.
You see why I brought Representative Cruz. I have a perspective of being a fresh new representative and senator back in 2010. It's 2023. I've seen the ups and downs of the
Right,
legislature.
you get a little
And
jaded or
you get a little
twisted or
discouraged.
something.
You get a little
Yeah.
discouraged.
Right.
And to find like minds is key. I highly, highly respect Representative Cruz because she comes with the solutions. We talked about water. We talked about conservation. I seen those ups and downs of the piecemealing for big issues. Water is a huge issue. Since 2010, we have been piecemealing the problem and not taking it serious. She
Well-
comes from with a different perspective, I think, with solutions. And I'm going to keep going back to the decision makers for these big issues for our next generation. And it is trying to find the like minds that care.
Right.
Finding the mother in her is very valuable to the legislature. We as women that have kids, we bring those skills. And it comes down to just having the passion and understanding of raising a child and what a mother knows our children need, whether it is trade school or college. But we have to meet them where they're at, to force them or to even try to teach them the way we were taught is not the way.
Well,
We just try to do our best.
Especially now, there's people who are born with different types of emotional intelligence, right? So it may not be scholastic, it may not be mathematic, it may be something. Maybe you're just mechanically gifted. I'm not mechanically gifted. I don't like fix things. I break things, But there are people who are, and I can recognize it, and they can get jobs immediately as diesel mechanics, for instance, right now, and pays better than a guy who just graduated from law school. But we don't seem to right now look at that in this country and be able to encourage people to go in that direction. It seems like go this way,
Right.
higher
And see, and
education.
that's
The
why-
cost of education is out of
Right.
control.
And that's
a
why
whole
it's so
nother thing.
important to meet our kids where they're at and to fund our classrooms so that expert teacher can see all the 30 or maybe now it's 40 kids in that classroom with individual needs to get the schools funded, the resources funded, to get our schools supported so we can raise these different individuals for different careers.
Sure.
And have those opportunities. Like, I love Westmec. I love, where did my brother go? EVIT. All these programs, I am encouraging all of it. My brother thought he wanted to be a barber. If he ever watches this, I'm sorry. But he went to even and stuff, and then he's like, I don't think that's for me, which is fine.
Sure.
Because you need to experience. And we look at failure as something to be frowned upon, at least growing up in the 80s and 90s. That's what I got. Oh, you messed up. But I think the failures are what helped me find myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The failures. And so I tried many different things. And I think, and those are my friends that I know who are successful, they tried so many things. But my friend who's a landscaper, They love the earth. They love touching it. I mean, that's for them, not me. I don't like getting dirty, but he loves it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I think once you find something that you enjoy doing, and no one's going to love every job that you have, but I know one of my college roommates, she was going to school for nursing. I'll never forget. And then we were working at Starbucks. And after college, I ran into her at a Starbucks. It was kind of funny, but she was the manager now, and she loved it.
Yeah.
And she never finished nursing school. She's a manager at Starbucks. She loves coffee. She loves training her staff and the customer service. And I love that about being American. You don't have to, there is no recipe for success.
Right.
You literally keep trying and you're like, whoa, I found it.
Right.
And I think that encouraging young people to try things, to get trades, to see if it's something that they want to do. I have a cousin who is a truck driver now. He went to truck driving school last year. He loves it. And that's what he likes. I have a friend who works on the, I forgot what they're called, but the big flat trucks. He repairs them. And he stumbled into this. I didn't even know I could do this for a living. We need to bring these trades to our schools and the business community to our schools and find some kind of way to bridge that gap, because we have workers. We have plenty. A lot of our unhoused community, at least by my house, they have trades. People couldn't keep up with rent, couldn't keep up with the cost of having a vehicle to drive to their job. They had the transportation was an issue, and they got into a little bit of trouble and are trying to climb out of debt. I mean, I've met so many unhoused members who can help you do a lot. They can put rotors on your car. They can help you with a whole lot of things. And so I think we need to have some kind of talent inventory and connect people to the resources or the industries that they
Would fit him.
Would fit them.
Well, you said it right. In this country, we still have that opportunity. We have the most important thing is hope, right? Everyone has, not everyone, but we all have the ability to have hope, or it's sitting out there. And we, UFE, Urban Farming Education, we're in Malawi, Africa, for instance, where that doesn't exist. The opportunity just doesn't exist. The resources aren't there. So you might be extremely gifted in any one particular thing, and you just have, there's no ability to rise. Whereas in this country, we still have that. And hopefully, we continue to have that. And I think that's what, people see around the world is that, right? But it is a little disconcerting these last 20 years or so. I guess it's gone on since we started as a republic, that there's, one party against another party, and politicians only trying to get reelected. And I think I was reading something, I think, who said it? Maybe Mitch, one of the national politicians said that when he had started, they surveyed everyone in the Senate and asked, what are you trying to accomplish? And 95% of them talked about actual things. And today, I think only 23% do that, and the rest of them are concerned only with reelection. So it's kind of a crazy thing. And you mentioned your brother. And my brother will never watch my podcast, so you don't have to worry about it. But I had asked him at one point, who are you going to vote for president? You wouldn't ask an average person on the street, but I asked him. I was kind of curious. What is he? Which direction does he lean? And he looked at me and he said, well, I'm going to vote for Spock. I was like, Spock? He said, yes, I'm a member of the Logic Party. And I thought to myself, wow, that's the party we actually need. Look at an issue by itself and try to come up with, solutions. I mean, everything's holistic. I get it. But, it doesn't, you don't have to have a political spin on everything. But how we get to that point, I'm not sure. What did you do? And I'll kind of wrap this up. You were just in Taipei, and I didn't pick up on that. So I was in Taipei in 2006.
Oh,
I had a VoIP phone company at the time, so I was in technology, and I went over there and went up the Taipei 101. I'm sure did you go up into that? Used to be the tallest building in the world. Now
No,
it's
we didn't.
second or third.
We didn't go there.
Oh yeah, it's a cool building.
Okay.
But So what were you doing there? Was it work related?
It was work related. Like I said, we're investing Taiwan is investing a $40 billion industry here in Arizona.
The one up on North Phoenix.
Right.
Off
and
the
it's
303.
semiconductor
Right.
facility. So we went to start building relationships. I wanted to know what is it that they're concerned about. And there was two interesting things that they're concerned about, us Americans. That we don't work hard enough.
Yeah.
They work 7 days, 24 hours a day. And they are worried about the culture aspect of it because they want to bring their workers. And so I tried to bring a happy medium of talking about our union workers, our labor. We have big labor. We have 3,000 labor union workers just in my district.
Wow.
So I tried to give them hope with that. And then I tried to encourage them with me possibly talking to Dr. Crow at ASU in incorporating a Mandarin language in the engineering curriculum.
Wow.
So when our new engineers graduate and come out, they can be semi-culturally competent, at least to say good morning,
Sure.
and to communicate as they're working together. And it's still my philosophy in our legislature. We have to find commonalities.
Have you read the book Chip War? Chip
No,
Wars?
no.
Oh, it's a great piece.
I'm going to
Speaking of-
after this.
Speaking of chips, though, you know how Arizona is the 5 C's. It's climate, cotton, cattle, citrus, and there's one more.
Now they're going to
Add
We,
chip.
we need to add chip because it is about technology, the innovation of technology.
right. Well, it all started here,
Right,
you know, and
didn't it?
we're still a big part of that, that world. But yeah, and you look at global events, realize how connected we are, the war in the war in Israel, and how who's backing either side. And, the concept of how fragile pay is from and they be made here in the States. If we don't have kids graduating from school can work in the plants, it doesn't really make much difference, So,
And maybe there's good, healthy conditions because we have that cultural. We don't work 24/7.
No, we don't.
We believe in work-life balance. I believe in people being able to work and hard and do it, but also live. And so, excited about some of the programs I've seen. Grand Canyon has a electric program and electrician, and there's another one where they have everything is free. They go to Grand Canyon, they get training, and it's an apprenticeship. It's hands-on, and then they get a certificate from GCU, and they move on their life. They get job placement too.
Right.
I'm really big on getting more
community
programs.
colleges.
And
promote
and
that.
community colleges. Absolutely. It's a community college is the only community college here, and or university that has like an appraisal program where you can go to school,
Right.
the community college, become an appraiser,
And a landscape program.
landscaper. Yeah.
Adult basic education
That
in our community college. It's the nucleus of our force
Right.
right there.
Mhm.
For adults going back to school that care, ready, all this out of
Right.
now they're ready.
Mhm.
So that is really the magic of nucleus of
Well, our concept with the gardens is to connect this with education. Is the disconnect
that.
there, and that's the idea of getting more of the gardens sponsored and getting that business perspective with the kids.
And it
Yeah,
is
I
about
love that.
connection. You have
Right.
90 of us at the legislature.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 90 of us in each of our districts? That's about 180 gardens.
There you go, right
And
there.
And it's about
Well, how many
connection.
schools are in the state of Arizona? There's over
I was
2,000
about to say, I forgot.
primary schools.
Wow.
Right.
I love
Our
that.
goal is to have a garden in every school, or basically a lab in every school. And
Yeah, I love that.
we don't realize all the things you can put in there. Robotics. We have a robotic garden. We have Right now, we're bringing in a solar
Wow.
oven.
Oh,
It looks like a big old teepee, and I want to re-engineer it here with some of the kids
Nice.
from high school. But you can dry fruits and vegetables. Allows the storage capacity of it. So there's so many different things that can be used, whether or not that student wants to go into medical or wants to go into programming. This is just kind of an avenue.
So it's
for
like
them
a
to
big
go.
air fryer? Is that what you're how you described it?
Kind of. It
'Cause
looks
it
like
dries
Because it dries
it
the
looks like a
fruit.
big white tent. We've got one coming,
Nice.
and we're
So
gonna
exciting.
figure out where to put it in one of
Yeah.
the schools here.
Amazing.
But it'll be kind of a cool thing. Well, I'm spending more time than I should. I never took the talking stick out.
Oh,
Which
goodness.
I should have introduced. I don't know. I always find out later if I talk too much or if I let you guys talk. But this is from Native American tradition where the person talking has the stick. So I should have told you guys about it so you could shut up, Mike. Let me talk now. But I appreciate it. You guys making it today, and
Yeah, thank you
great
for having
to
us.
talk with you. Who else do you think we should have on this podcast? Now that you have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish, who
We'll
else?
talk, and then we'll bring back some
Okay,
suggestions.
Suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this. This is
and I love the
amazing.
different perspectives.
Yes.
Even if they're not my perspective, which
No,
most
that's
are
fine.
not.
That's okay.
But I look forward to hearing from both of you on that. And I thank my guests, Senator Miranda, Representative Cruz, for being here today. And at least do one cheers.
Just one.
Once you start, you got to finish your glass, by the way.
Say salute.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.